Ask Steve number 4 is here. If you're new here, if you're new to the video, first time clicking on this, my name is Steve. I'm a long-time eBay seller. I've sold 50, 40, 50, 70, 90, 100 million items on eBay. Millions of dollars worth of things. I'm a long-time Pokemon collector. I love all this stuff. Pretty knowledgeable in a lot of the areas of selling online and collecting, and not very good at life, to be honest, because I'm wearing a Pikachu shirt and sitting in my pajamas. But other than that, that's me. Nice to meet you. What we do here is you ask questions in the comments. I answer them. We have a little bit of fun. The video goes for hours and hours and hours. My throat gets really sore towards the end. I complain about it a lot. That's just how it is. So without further ado, before we get into the questions, if you want a question answered, this is the video to do it on. No more going to be posting a video just to get questions. The questions that you want answered will be on the most recent answer video. So if you want any questions on the next Ask Steve, put them in the comments here. No question too long, no question too silly. Ask whatever you want. I'll answer to the best of my ability. I will say that if you ask a question, it requires me to know the future or a crystal ball. I'm just going to tell like it is. I'm not going to, beat around the bush with any sort of questions. I'll put you down slowly if I think it's a silly question. But there is no silly questions, to be honest. So let's learn together. Let's have a little bit of fun. And we'll get into it. First person to ask question, T-Hack. Hello, T-Hack. I would love to hear more about your journey selling cards from over the years. How long until you had the capital to move to primarily graded cards? Any purchases where you hit a home run or hurdles and failures you learned a lesson from? Okay, first question. Let's address this. When did I move to primarily graded cards? So I started reselling Pokemon cards mainly in 2015. I was doing Nintendo games before that for about a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer. It's a bit hazy. It's been a long time. But 2015, 2016, 2017, roughly start of 2018, late, mid 2017, I did my first grading submission. That was roughly 30 cards. Got some back, sold them, saw the value in it. Not too much. I mainly focused on single cards because I couldn't really afford to keep the cards for that long because I wanted to buy more cards, obviously. I think everyone has that same problem. Even now, sometimes I have that same problem. But roughly, we got to 2018. I got a few more submissions back with 50 cards here and there. Mind you, back then it was only $8 a card, so paying like $400 plus shipping for 50 card submission. It's not that bad comparing it to now, comparing how expensive everything is now and how cheap everything was back then. Sorry. I think I just vomited in my mouth. That's great. Sorry if you heard that. That's kind of disgusting, don't you reckon? Damn. So, yeah. So, like mid to late 2019 is when I started to grade a lot of cards. And this will tie into the next question you asked. Any purchases where you hit a home run? I mean, there's been a lot, right? Over the years, I think I've spent probably $2.5 million on cards. It's a lot of fucking money. Don't get me wrong. It's a shitload. It's not a flex by any means because I'm still doing it. So if I had like some crazy collections, I wouldn't be on YouTube making videos, to be honest. I wouldn't be selling cards anymore. I'd be living on a beach somewhere. But I've spent a lot of money. So obviously sometimes I've had things come in where I've gotten a better deal than was first inclined. So maybe early 2018, I purchased the Wizards of the Coast collection from eBay. It wasn't a crazy deal by any means. I was the highest bidder. It was a 7 or 10-day auction. I even almost lost it because the seller didn't want to ship to me in Australia. Completely understandable. Some people don't want to take the risk of international shipping. But I convinced him to do it. I won it for around $5,000 US. It was like 3 complete base sets, 3 complete Jungle First Edition, Fossil First Edition, Team Rocket First Edition, a Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge First Edition set, and maybe like a Shadowless base set, and then like 5,000 bulk cards that came with it. And everything was kind of packed fresh. Really nice. I was pretty happy with that collection. I got it in. I graded like all the holo cards, so there was like 300 overall with all the extras and everything. 300 to 350, I can't remember. I got like 240 PSA 10s from that collection. That was like crazy. 240 PSA 10 like Wizards of the Coast holos. One of the most notable one was like 2 Vaporeon First Edition PSA 10s, and back then that was like a $1,000 card. It was very, very expensive. I sold both of those. And I was like, that was my first big sale. I was like, I just sold a card for $1,000. Like I was bouncing across the walls. I went out to dinner with I think my mom at the time, my mom and my girlfriend, I think we went out to dinner. We celebrated because it was just like, what the $1,000 for a card. That's just, yeah, it was just absolutely mind blowing. And that's when grading kind of ticked in my mind. And that was like a $7,000 spend overall, maybe a little bit more. And then I got like $20,000 to $25,000 back. And then like graded cards back then, they were pretty liquid. It was a pretty down part in the market, but you could still sell a lot. And I think I got like 20 to 25 grand for all those cards. And that was kind of like, whoa, grading is crazy. You know, I was still selling single cards though. And I kept doing that up until like 2020 is my main thing. But that's when it really, that was a pretty good home run purchase. And then another one was December 2019. I purchased a collection for $10,000 Australian. Someone just met up with me and he's like, I just want to get out of it. I want to buy a really big fish tank, he said. And he had like a PSA 10 unlimited base set, like all the hollows together, and then like some like thousands of dollars worth of raw cards. And at the time, that was the market, and I was the only one willing to pay that price. Met up with him, gave him cash. I think I had $11,000 in my bank account at the time. I gave him $10,000. It's a lot, you know. I'm not come from money or anything. I'm literally just a guy. So I've done that many times where I've spent my money, like my account's down to zero, and I've took max leverage before, and I've even gone into debt like a bunch of times. It's, you know, it's not very appealing when you tell people these things, but just being honest with you, that collection there, 6 months happened. We got close to Logan Paul happening. COVID happened. It was mid 2020. I kept a lot of the holo base set cards, but they started to go up like crazy. I like sold the Chansey for almost 2,000, sold the Charizard for 8,000, and then Logan Paul came in like 2 months later, and the Charizard was like 25,000. So even though I sold mine for a lot, it was a lot more than 2 months time, but that kind of helped me. And then the majority of his collection came back was a lot of Charizards. There was a lot of base set Charizards, Japanese Charizards, English Charizards. I got a bunch of 10s and a bunch of really nice cards. Crazy to even think getting those cards now. And then I sold all those. I got them like August 2020 back, and that was like life changing, to be honest. I sold that whole submission for like $70,000-$80,000, and I only paid like maybe 15 after all the grading. Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, that is just complete luck, to be honest. Why I'm in this position. I mean, there's a lot of hard work. I've sold tens and thousands items that I know many people in my position because of like COVID and everything. It pushed all the prices up, and if you had anything desirable at the time, you could just sell it for a lot, and that's just how it was. But yeah, that was just nuts. I mean, yeah, that's probably two purchases that really put me. I still buy to this day. I'll buy a card here or there. I'll buy a rare card for like 5 figures, and I'll sell it for like $10,000 more in like 2 or 3 weeks time. But that just doesn't even compare to like the level of what those two submissions did for me and those purchases, those collections I bought. Obviously, still a lot of risk to put that much money down, grade them, and then sell them appropriately and sell them at the market price over time slowly, so you don't just dump straight away. But it was nuts. And then you asked any hurdles or failures you've learned a lesson from. I mean, I think in cards I've been pretty lucky. Started in 2014. We had 2016 boom, 2019 boom, 2020 boom, 2021. Now in 2023, another boom. I don't even think it's a boom by now. I think Pokemon's just really, really fucking popular, to be honest. And everyone that calls it a boom or a bubble or whatever. Things go up, things go down. Don't spend your money too crazy. But any hurdles or failures you lesson from, man. I mean, I've made so many mistakes. Relationships with things and like that. I put too much effort in that, you know, didn't really work out. Lots of time wasted on just certain things. I've played a lot of video games in my life. I wouldn't say that they're hurdles or failures, but, you know, I probably could have always spent a little bit less time playing video games. I have all the Warcraft characters with days and tens of days played on them, week played on them. It's whatever's a part of who I am. It's my identity. I've always tried to be the kind of person that stays inside and away from people and kind of not really putting myself out there. I've helped people out in the tunes of thousands of dollars and bought stuff for people and like sold them to cost just for them not to like ever talk to me again. Or that's kind of a hurdle of failure. Maybe I put a little bit too much trust into people to like not treat me bad, or like I've trying to help people buy things from certain places and then maybe they just never really remember it, or they just, I don't know. It's hurdles or failures, not really in Pokemon cards themselves, but more of like my emotional experiences and my relationships. Probably to do with me not being able to handle things well as like a human being, and that's perfectly fine. But I've had a car that I bought on a car loan. It was like $37,000. The car when I first bought it, 7-year car loan. I ended up paying back like $53,000. That was a very bad idea. That's a failure in my eyes. I should have never bought that. I bought that back when I got my first full-time job because I thought I was balling, getting like $800 a week. I've made every mistake you could ever possibly think of, and somehow I'm still in the position I am just of sheer determination, luck, work, and a little bit of skill. But yeah, I hope that explained that. I hope I don't seem like some sort of psycho after I explain that. Maybe I should delete this video. But thanks, T-Hack, for the question. We'll move on to TCG Collect. Question. Wow, really? I'm kidding. I don't mean to be a sarcastic, but come on. You don't have to write question because you put a question mark on something, it's a question. What are the reliable ways to identify real or fake slabs / cards when buying from other sellers? That's a good one. I mean, it's, check their feedback, obviously. Depending on where you buy it from, it's going to be very hard for someone to ever scam you on eBay. So fake slabs / cards, very, very unlikely to be on eBay. Definitely reliable ways to identify real or fake. So I think based on the seller is the best thing. It doesn't matter really who people are. Like, you go on my store, you see me as a person, my Instagram account, all my social medias together. Very unlikely, low chance I'm going to be selling some fake cards. As you go down the totem poles, you get to sellers with zero feedback. They have a lot less to lose. So they're going to be like, that's more likely that you'll find someone with zero feedback selling something like that. And sometimes it's like a too good to be true moment. You might find a first edition Charizard that looks graded, selling for half the market price. It's not really like that. Or like some gold stars, a lot of the times they're faked. It's, you can always look up the PSA cert, but usually they just use the same PSA cert of one that they copy. So, and it's also another foolproof is just have like a buddy that's a little bit more experienced than you. You could just ask them. Like me, I'm more than happy for anyone to send me a link that's like, is this fake or real? And I can explain to you probably why I think it's fake or real. And I can just tell you no flat out, or just like be like, this is why it isn't or isn't. I'm perfectly fine to do that if I can spend 10 seconds answering a question and like saving people money. I mean, I'm not a psycho. I feel like that's a pretty good trade-off of my time. But yeah, it's more based on the seller, not the item. Because, a good seller like me probably wouldn't put a rare item for half price that looks like it's in a fake case. But like a lower end seller with less feedback, more to lose, or less to lose, will probably put an item like that. You got to kind of go down the thing, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's a lot of places that do sell fake cards, and it's very popular in Yahoo and like on Yahoo Japan for fake cards to be, because there's very little seller protection and you can't really win. If you see like a little binder with like a shining Charizard in there, very likely that card is just like fake, and they've like taken a picture of it just to make you look like you might be getting something, or like, this is my old collection kind of pictures. There's only so many people that can sell their same old collection, over and over again. So I hope that helps you out. TCG Collect. Robert Heb. How much does it end up working out to send a card to PSA via bulk when you include shipping both ways? How do you avoid paying GST and import duties? I'm wondering if it's worth it to do it myself or use a middleman. Well, hello, Robert. What you asked is a basic math question. So we'll work this out. I'm actually a teacher. I'm not a qualified teacher, but I do like math. But this might be completely hilarious if I get this wrong. So let's work this out together. Let's say you have a PSA membership, which you should have if you want to send bulk. We're going to use US dollars for everything. $15 to send per card. Okay, that's it. So you times that by the amount of cards you're sending. So let's just use 10 for this example. So that's $150. Easy. So then we got to figure out how much it costs you to send. It's different. Maybe you're sending 10 cards. It's going to cost less than sending 100. It's going to cost less than sending 1,000. So only you can really figure out how much it costs you from where you are to send cards. I'm guessing you're from Australia if you're asking about GST. But we'll just throw a number out there, $25 to send to America. So that's 25 Australian. But we're just going to put 25 US because everything else is in US. So we go 25. Put that number there. That's 175. And then include shipping both ways. This 25 is less important to the overall total, but we'll leave it there. Well, the shipping return from PSA is on the PSA form when you do the thing. I can't tell you how much it is to get a submission back from PSA because 10 cards is different to 100 cards, different to 1,000 cards. This is something you're just going to have to learn yourself by logging into PSA and simply just doing a submission form. Will probably take you maybe 5 minutes just to put 30 random cards in to figure out exactly how much it is sent back to you. I could just tell you the amount, but you're not going to learn anything if I just tell you. So you don't even have to pay any money to make a PSA account. You can make an account, do a submission, put 30 base set Charizards in as a placeholder, and it'll tell you exactly how much the international shipping is. But let's just say it's $100, $100 for 30 cards. Even though I said 10 here, we'll still use $100 for 10 cards. So overall, this is how much it's going to cost you, $275 US for your 10 cards graded. It's quite a lot. So once you average that out, if you want to send 10 cards, it costs you $275 US, but someone in Australia is doing it for 200 or 20 USD per card, that's obviously going to be cheaper, right? And then you usually just scale up. Middlemans generally have a break point at the amount per card. I don't know how much the middleman's charging, so I can't figure that out for you. But the GST thing needs to be under 1,000 Australian. Generally under 950, because if the currency goes up or down, you're going to get destroyed. But I don't know why people want to avoid GST so much. It goes to our country and supports our country, but that's perfectly fine if you want to do something like that. Usually they charge you 10% of the value of the box plus an $88 fee. That's the worst part, is the $88 fee. So whatever this amount needs to be less than 1,000 when you submit the cards. Usually around like 30-ish at 15 will get you a little bit lower, but if it's like 600 USD, you have to calculate that to Australian dollars. I hope this is literally 5-year-old maths, by the way. So I really hope you're listening, Robert, because I'm not going to say this is a silly question, but it's a very valid question. I get asked a lot of the times, but it is basic math at the end of the day. And if you think I'm an asshole acting like this, well, that's fine. I'd rather be the asshole and teach you the right way rather than just doing everything for you. So all you got to do is keep your submission total under 1,000. And if whatever cards you're submitting, plus the shipping to, plus the shipping from, is less, once you convert it all, then the middleman charging, then it's better off. You also get to control the submission. You also get like it feels good to see the submission bar and you're not getting scammed. You don't want to put your things in other people's hands. But I hope that makes sense. In general, middlemans are great when you're sending like 20 cards or less. You don't have to worry about anything, but you still have to pay for like the card savers. You'll still have to pay for like the packaging to get the box there. But, if you want to do regular submissions, even if it costs a little bit more, I always think it's worth just to like do your own submissions because you're a grown man and I believe you can do it. I used middlemans for a long time, and then I realized that I'm going to do my own because I'm a grown man. I'm not really that grown. I'm wearing a Pikachu shirt. Michael Duck asks, thanks for the question, by the way, Robert. Michael Duck, if I were to send 4 separate submissions to PSA in the same package and the total service cost is $3,000, will I get customs duty when... Another customs question, 2 in a row. Or assuming each submission cost is than $1,000, will PSA send 4 submissions? I'm pretty sure I have a video on sending to PSA from Australia. So maybe both of you can go watch that video. I think I covered this in that video, but unless I didn't, maybe I didn't. I know it's been a while. So Michael, what I'm saying, if you do 4 submissions and you put them in a box, they're not going to send all 4 back at the same time. They'll send 4 back separately. As long as they are under $1,000, it'll get through and you'll be able to avoid taxes and don't pay our great country for anything they do. I hope that makes sense. John Rodriguez, you mentioned you have a secondary store for singles. Do you ship them via eBay standard envelope? No, I do not. That is a US only thing. I just ship them through $3 tracked envelope in Australia. If you have a little bit of a basis around the question, wherever you're from, even if you're not from the US and you're watching this, just charge whatever the cheapest tracked shipping is in your country when you're selling cheap singles. If it's $5, just put $5 shipping. Never try to do untracked because it's always going to bite you in the ass. You won't be able to take advantage from top rated seller benefits, all these other things. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to send it the cheapest tracked method possible. For us, it's like a $3 envelope. The US has under $20 items. They can do 56 cents. It's amazing. I wish we had that. But if I was in the US, I would use the eBay standard envelope thing. I think it's 50 cents or something for under $20. Aiden asks, how much will scratching on the back of a Japanese card affect its grade? I have many Japanese DMP era old back cards with minty corners, but with a decent amount of scratches on the back and have no clue if that means they would be getting closer to an 8 or a 5. I mean, that's surface wear, right? So obviously, we're both humans. We would understand if the card's a little bit damaged, it's going to get a lower grade. Sometimes I grade stuff like that. I think I got some back the other day, some level X cards, and then I put them in the light, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit rough. That looks like it's got scratched on the back. If it's very light, 8 to 9 is generally, but obviously I can't see the cards you're submitting. I can't give you the best answer possible, but I'm not going to tell you I've never got a 10 with cards that has very light scratching, 1 or 2, but if it's got a little bit of a wear, it's definitely like that's a defect, and that will get lower than a 10. Thank you, Aiden. Sorry, I just got really confused with the questions here. Erratic wool gathering. I hope that's like some sort of like wool gathering channel, like you gather wool. That'd be pretty cool. How much starting capital did you have when you got serious and or went full time? So I've been serious since I started. Just remember that. No, I actually wasn't being serious since I started. But how much starting capital did I have? I think I owed $1,500 on my credit card in like 2014. What was I, 21? I had my first credit card. They gave me a $2,000 limit. I was owing $1,500 because I was terrible at life. Terrible at management. I was buying and selling my games, and I'd always spend way too much on the credit card buying the games, and I'd always have to fire sell them. So roughly in 2014, 2015, I was like negative 2,000, and I probably had like a few $1,000s worth of stuff in my house, including my car and stuff like that. I started with very little. I had a very crap job when I started. I was a casual at a supermarket working like 20 hours a week. It wasn't very glamorous, I'll tell you that. The house I was living in was complete trash. It was miserable. I was in a miserable state. I'm even sad thinking about it. Starting capital is irrelevant when it comes to buying and selling. Everything is relative. If you go on my eBay store, you'll see I've sold like 30,000 items. A lot of them were $1 each. My website, I think I've sold, I was looking at the other day, I think I have like 122,000 units sold or something overall on eBay and my website. And I'm sure if I sorted that between $1 and $10, that would probably be like 100,000 items at a minimum under $10. It does not take a large amount. It takes a lot of dedication, time, a little bit of skill, and just time. It's like time. It's not a fast thing. It's a slow growth, slow build. When I got serious, it's probably like 2017. I think around then I probably had like a $10,000, $15,000, maybe $20,000 net worth sort of thing, amount of cards I had, and my life was going a bit better. It's very slow. It's like, because like COVID and everything, the big boom pushed everything, and everything's worth millions of dollars now. It makes it seem not very like cool to sell cheap cards, or to like grow slowly, because everyone's just like, oh man, I got this $20 million card and I paid $1 for it, and it's like flex. And I understand, but I think you can start with zero. It just takes a bit of time. Obviously, more money is helpful. I think the less money you have, obviously, the more time you have, because you don't have that much money. I mean, you should have time. If you're working 100 hours a week and you don't have any money, then maybe there's something wrong going there. But if you want to get more money, it's either just like you make more or you spend less, whichever needs to happen. Get an extra job, get a part-time job. If you're working 2 part-time jobs, that's fine. I've done that before while selling cards. I mean, I've done the shit stuff too. I understand how crap it is to start from little, but yeah, it wasn't very much when I got serious. I think I mentioned earlier on the video what kind of set me up to where I was. But even then, that didn't stop me. Like, I got some huge returns. It's not like I just wasted all the money and I just pissed it away buying random shit in my life. I still went through. I'm still buying stuff. To this day, I just packed like a $3 order, a $3 plus shipping order in an eBay, like an envelope sale. So, you just got to realize that it's not a... Let's check. Are we still recording? We still are recording. It's not a fast thing, okay? But how much I started with, I explained that earlier as well. But yeah, I'm right now, like, I submit a lot of graded cards, and you guys see it, and it is very expensive. It costs me a lot. To be honest, it's pretty stupid, because now I just sit on all this like plastic grading costs. But I've been very fortunate recently to like come into a lot of money through sales and my collection going up in value and my Japanese cards and everything. So I've been able to do that. But before that, yeah, you don't have to start with very much. Trust me, it's more about time and dedication than it is about money. Peter Griffin asks, when you sending that Moonbryon to get graded? I think I said that yesterday, actually. That's a good question. You got me. I bought that for $600 or something when EV Heroes came out, and it was starting to go up, like after the second reprint of EV Heroes, and I was like, man, I gotta get an Umbreon VMAX. But now it's so expensive, I don't really like it that much anymore. I was like, oh man, this is way too much. So I'll probably grade it, hopefully get a 10, and I'll probably sell it if it gets a 10. If it doesn't get a 10, I'll just keep it in my collection. It's not worth selling because I'm just going to keep it because I like the lower graded cards personally. But yeah, that I did send the Moonbryon to get graded. Thomas Valasek. Oh, feel a hiccup coming on. What do you think about the huge price change between, example, 2019 and 2023? As I'm looking at PSA realized store prices, most of it went up. Aren't you afraid that cards value can go down a lot in the future? If popularity will go down also. I know we grow our collection, so it wouldn't matter that much. And we would buy cards cheaper for us, but still, do you think it's possible to happen? Man, Thomas, that's a question. Sometimes I ask myself that almost like 20 times a day. What would you do? Cards go up, cards go down. You know, in the end, it doesn't really matter. I think understanding market price and how things work, like I do a lot of Japanese cards, the market is a lot faster moving than English cards just because of the nature of Japan and how it works. But basically in Japan, you have card stores, they put up buy lists. And a buy list is like, they just post a list of cards and then we want to pay $1,000 for this, or we want to pay $100 for this, or we're paying $10 for this. And then another card store will be like, we're paying $10.50, or we're paying $11 for this card, example. So that kind of like holds the prices, and then people like go trade their cards in and they sell them for like 20% more, 10% more. And it kind of like keeps it a little bit more stable and safe. You can kind of notice with your Japanese cards, because I mainly do Japanese, you can just notice the card stores, how they're feeling, whether they up the buy price or lower the buy price. But it's really hard. Popularity go down. I mean, this is kind of a crystal ball question. I don't really know, man. I kind of just like buy at the market price and I sell at the market price. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's just the nature of the beast. When I'm buying something for my collection, you just write the money off. You just be like, that's whatever. If it goes up and you can sell it and buy something else, yeah, that's great. But that, you know, it's, some prices have gone up, definitely. You know, there were cards that I was buying for $20 in early 2020 that are now 1,000, and it is daunting to say the least. But what I will say is there is still $20 cards to buy. Does that make sense? So even though previous $20 cards cannot be had for $20, there are now new $20 cards. And I'm not saying the new $20 cards are going to go to 1,000, but I'm just saying that no matter how prices go up or down in Pokemon, whether one card goes to $1 million, it doesn't really matter, because there always is, at every price, there is going to be a card. There's always going to be cards that are $1 each, always going to be cards that are 10 cents each. There's always going to be cards that are $10, $20, $50, $100, $1,000. Does that make sense? Like, there's always going to be a card that fits those price ranges. And there's going to be cards going through the price ranges and then down and then up and then down. And I just try not to worry about it too much. I just, you know, if some cards go up drastically, maybe I'll buy them, try to catch the wave. If I really want something, I'll get FOMO'd in. If I think something's like, oh, that's a bit crazy, but, you know, I've bet against cards more often than not and lost every single time. And the cards I've usually bet for, I haven't really lost. I don't know if that tells you much. It's just, I'm not saying don't bet against Pokemon, and I'm not trying to FOMO you, but it's possible, but who knows, really? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're buying and selling, you buy at the market price and you sell at market price. That's all you can control. You actually can't control anything else. You just buy at market price, you sell at market price, and you keep your knowledge in the back of your head to make sure you're getting a little bit less than the market price, and when you're selling it, you try to sell it at or a little bit more to stay ahead. When you're collecting, well, it's not about money at the end of the day when you're collecting, so it's not relevant. But yeah, that's a great question, but I don't think anyone can actually ever answer that. Lethal MD. Hi, Steve. How do you find PSA grades new back Japanese cards that are flawless everywhere, but with faint light scratches on the back? Well, I answered that before. I think brand new modern cards with a little bit of something somewhere, you can definitely get a 9. I think you can get like, it's like a 30-70% chance for 10-9. But without seeing the cards in person, my eyes are really messing with me today. I don't know why. Sorry I keep pulling them. I feel so weird. Um, yeah, I hope that answers your question. It's like a 70-30% chance. It depends how bad they are. It depends how faint they are. Sometimes they're nearly impossible to see even in light, so maybe the grader will miss it, I guess. That's a bad thing to say, but I would yeah, try not to submit the brand new modern cards if they do have a little bit of damage. You just buy another brand new modern card. Braden Kershaw Quinn. Do you do both buying and selling on the same eBay account? You have mentioned that you operate multiple. Is this because you sell raw separately to grade and have a separate buying account? Or is this because you sell raw separately to graded and have a separate buying account? So the reason why I separate my accounts, you shouldn't separate them personally. I separate my accounts because my graded card store goes through my website, and there's an app that links it to eBay, and I have a whole lot of default settings that just wouldn't work out if I had low value singles, because I have like free shipping built in, I have all these discounts built in, and I have all these like systems in place and default item specifics and a bunch of things that really work for graded cards, and it just wouldn't work with single cards for me. So I decided to make another store. For you, if you're only selling on eBay, definitely just keep everything in one spot. Now for buying, I just buy on my main eBay account or I buy on my other eBay account. I really don't care, whichever one I'm logged into. You know, I don't buy that much on eBay, to be honest, but maybe 1 or 2 purchases a week. I buy all my shipping supplies. I buy random stuff. I bought a printer the other day on eBay. I bought labels the other day. I mean, yeah, I just nothing. I don't really feel like it's. Some people like have separate buying accounts to hide what they're buying, but those people are clowns anyway. So, and if you do that, I'm sorry that I called you a clown, but who cares what you're buying at the end of the day? Another question from Braden Kershaw Quinn says, "Do you see any value in promoted listings?" This is a good fucking question. That's a great question. So promoted listings works like this, right? Let's say you have your listing, and you get 10 views, no promotion. You put a 5% promotion on, so right, 5%. Now you got, let's just say 25 views. So if you increase your views by 1.5. Now, this is not actual math, like this actually happens, but you just increased your views by telling eBay you're going to give them 5% more sales. You have to work out with your item, some items that are really popular. Let's say you got the new Scarlet Violet promo Pikachu. Promotions kind of really work with that because there's hundreds of them PSA 10 on eBay. The one way you can beat promotions for people that do promoted listings, you just have the lowest price. So you have the low list. Low list means you have the lowest listing on eBay. Doesn't matter how much people have promotions on. Sometimes someone with like a better seller account and more sales on that one listing will get ahead of you and they have promotions even if you have the lowest price. But lowest price beats literally everything. It doesn't matter how many promotions you do. But in general, I think I have a flat 2% across everything. And then cards under $100, I have like 4 to 6%, depending on how I'm feeling. I play with it a lot. I have like 40 to 50 million impressions a month. You know, I have a lot of like listing impressions, hundreds of thousands of page views. It's something, unfortunately, if you sell on eBay, you have to use promoted listings. They've just made it. But don't get yourself down when you think about it. Just think about if your eBay selling fee is 12%, just, you know, if you use 2% listings, promoted listings, just calculate in your head, like, okay, my eBay selling fee is 14%. It's not 12%, and then, oh, they take another 2% from my promoter. Just add it into your price, calculate it through. Just realize that, like, more views and selling more items that are cheaper and, like, they like get the promoted listings is better than just, like, putting your listings up. Because you put all the effort in, and then you're not promoting them. Everyone's promoting every listing, and it's like, it's really hard for sellers who don't. Best way to do that, obviously, keep the lowest list, but at the end of the day, I really feel like you have to promote every listings. I'm not an eBay shill. I'm not trying to get them more money, but I've noticed drop-offs. I've turned off promoted many times before. I was like, man, fuck promoted. Because I believe you. You have to pay extra fee, right? Sorry for swearing, but like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's a shit thing. You have to pay more money just to get your item seen, but it's just how it is. It's just how it is. You know, you just add it into the price. You understand. I've dropped off to selling like 2 things in like 3 days. Usually I would sell 10 to 15 a day here or there. And then you sell nothing and your views drop down, your traffic drop down, your impressions drop down. I think on my eBay, 80% of my listings impressions are promoted. So I hope that's a telling sign, right? So if I dropped promoted listings off, that would probably drop my impressions down by 80%, right? So I would have 1/5 of the amount of listing impressions, and that would be probably detrimental to what I'm trying to do. But promoted listings, the most valuable thing you could possibly do in your store. I would never go past like 5%, especially if you're selling niche stuff. Like I sell a lot of niche stuff, and I got Pokemon that there might not be any even other copies graded, but sometimes people don't search for that certain thing graded. They might search for like Oshawott, right? And all the Oshawott cards will come up. If my graded one has the good promotion on it, or 2%, 4%, that'll be first one to pop up. And they'll be like, oh, that's good. Not many people. The promoter's really good for people who don't search for the exact thing that you want when you're selling niche stuff. But when you're selling stuff like a Radiant Charizard PSA 10 or a Scarlet Art Pikachu promo, using promoted and having the lowest price is the best thing to get seen. But you're not going to make that much. So you just have to use them all in a tandem. I said a lot of words. I really hope you understand that, Brayden. But yeah, you have to use promoted listings. The value is insane. I've seen like on my single store, I think I have it up to like 10-15% at the moment. Maybe 10% on my single store. For graded cards, I wouldn't go anywhere past 5, but my single store is like, because some of the cards are like $5 each, and I have 1 cent into them, because even if I have to pay an extra 50 cents, if it gets it sold, that's better than none. I like selling things more than making profit sometimes, and maybe it's my biggest problem, but I'd really like selling things, so getting my cards out there, and then every time you only really have to pay promoter listings once as well. I forgot to mention that, because if the buyer that buys your item, yeah, I forgot to mention this. This is the most important thing about promoter listings. Wow, it just came. You're basically paying for a new buyer. It's like advertising. It's like, you go down the road, you see the bus stop, and they have the big thing on there that advertising a new movie or whatever. They're paying that. You see that, you're like, oh, I want to see that movie. Or that KFC pays for an ad or something like that. You're paying for advertisement to get your items up there, but you only have to pay for that once to get that one customer. So when someone buys a graded card off me through promoter listings, I notice the next time they buy off me, it's not promoted anymore. They went through my store, they bought a thing, or maybe they received like my business card in the mail. It shows my website. They buy off the website the next time. Does that make sense? It's like you're paying for the advertisement. So maybe on the first sale to a new customer, you have to pay the 5%, the 10%. But afterwards, you have a good store, you have it set up nicely. They'll come back to your actual store rather than just finding your listings through eBay again. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Toby Andrews. Hey, mate, I would like to know about your packaging. Are your bubble sleeves and boxes custom made? I have a video on this, Toby. It's called How I Pack and Ship Graded Cards. It's in the how-to playlist. Everything's in there. I hope that helps you. T-Hack. I know you sell graded cards, but when you're selling raw cards, how would you go about pricing them? I use eBay sold listings, which gives a price range for most cards. But for your preferences, did you have lower prices for quicker sales or higher prices and would hold out for a better profit? I mean, that's a hard question to really answer, T-Hack, but when you sell raw cards, how do you go about pricing them? Usually, when you have a card over $10, and it's like a holographic old back card or something like that, something that's a little bit harder to get, you just kind of go with the market price and you go like closer to the lowest listing. But when you have stuff that when I have stuff that I know that cost me very little, like I just said, I have a lot of like bulk from a lot of random E-Series sets and EX era sets and legend sets. A lot of that stuff cost me like between 0 and 50 cents. I don't mind. I just blanket list them all for like $3 to $5, $3 to $10, depending on how popular the Pokemon is. It's not the best thing to do. I always think for a new seller, get used to researching market prices, because sometimes you'll be really amazed and you'll find a card that sells for like $35 and you will just list yours at like 10 because you got it cheap in a deal. Researching the market price is really important, but over time you'll understand that like sometimes selling things faster that are cheaper cards is just usually better than trying to always get the most amount of money. You should always hold out for a better profit on cards that are hard to get back, like base set Charizards and like Dragonites and Gengar cards, because everyone wants them and they're hard to get. You don't want to be the person that like is the lowest listing on those, but you'll figure it out eventually which cards are like the good ones to put lowest listing and which ones are not. I hope that helps. Game View. Do you find value in group chats with like-minded sellers / collectors? And are you in any/many? Yeah, I'm in heaps of them. That's the best thing ever you could do. You're only one person. One person can't do anything, to be honest. To me, if I was just by myself, started buying and selling Pokemon, well, I'd be useless and shit 7 years later. I would be absolutely useless. I don't care. I mean, maybe that's just my personality. Maybe that's just me. I like talking to people. I like getting information. I like conversing. There's a method called the Rubber Ducky method. where like you put a, where's my Umbreon? I don't even know where my Umbreon is. But let's say the Rubber Ducky method is you put a Rubber Ducky. So this Pikachu's my Rubber Ducky in this state. This camera still on? Hope it didn't turn off. We're still on 40 minutes. All right. So this Pikachu is my Rubber Ducky, and you pretty much talk to the thing like it's a human being. But in this case, you're not using a Rubber Ducky. You just use another human being. And sometimes you have a friend. You're like, hey, I need to talk to you about some stuff. I don't really need an answer back, but I'm just going to Rubber Ducky method you and just say everything I want to say. And then as you talk to them and explain it to them, you'll get better at the answer, at the question, and you'll figure it out, sort of thing. That's kind of what I do with you guys here with these questions, even though I'm talking to a camera and it's completely bizarre and completely new to me and I feel very uncomfortable. I'm trying my best. I use the camera, as the Rubber Ducky to figure out the answer to the question a lot of times. Because sometimes you'll notice, like as my brain ticks forward, just like with the promotions, I'll figure out more things along the way that I might have remembered or I might have figured out as I'm talking to the camera. So I hope that might like-minded, like I don't think like-minded sellers is a very good thing. Pretty much everyone I know that does sell cards personally that I talk to on a regular basis is a collector. There really is no successful people that I know of who just sell cards. And if they ever are successful, it's because of pure luck or they just start with a lot of money. And even then, over time, they probably fizzle out and lose a lot of money and they kind of suck at this. But I think seller/collectors is definitely a good way to describe it. Someone like me, obviously, I collect a lot, I sell a lot, keep together. I know lots of people just like me. My friend Trainer JR, he just started a YouTube. Trainer JR, he just started his YouTube channel. He's a great guy. I talk to him almost every day. And there's a whole bunch of other people. I've met them over the years. I would definitely join communities. You know, join like a big, broad blanket community. And then over time, you see people posting stuff that you like. Message them, go out of your way. Be like, hey, I really like the stuff you like. Just talk to them, treat them like normal human beings. Talk about Pokemon. Maybe if you get lucky, they'll invite you to something they're in. Or if you ask them, hey, do you know anyone else that kind of likes the stuff that this is like, I like this. Does that make sense? You kind of just, you have to be a human being, you have to talk to people. You have to also offer something. You can't just be take. Because you're never going to get anyone really benefiting from that if you just take. Oh my God, I keep hiccuping. It's so embarrassing. It's annoying. I think it's because I had a sparkling water earlier. I'm like hiccuping in my mouth. I'm sorry. But like I said, definitely a good thing to do. Join people that like the things you like. One brain basically does nothing. Sometimes I ask 5, 6, 7, 10 people about something before I do it. Let's say I want to sell something that's like kind of hard to get. Someone's offered me on it. I'll just ask a few people I know. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, what there's nothing to lose if you remove your pride from it. And if I'm thinking, oh, why they think I'm asking them? Maybe they think I know everything and I'm asking questions like a noob. It's like, it's perfectly fine. No one knows everything. No one's doing this completely solo, completely alone. And if they do, good on them. But, you know, I don't think it's a very good thing to do. And second question, you don't have to answer this, but roughly how much dollar have you managed to make from YouTube so far? Well, I started my YouTube channel like early 2021. I posted a lot of like little funny videos here and there, some returns, some mail days. And then when I started back up again in 2023, I needed to get the monetization was almost there because of all the videos I posted between 2021 and 2023, like that 2-year span. I was almost at 1,000 subscribers and I needed to hit like the 4,000 watch hours in 1 year time. I was at like 2,500. And then I reached that halfway through January and I got monetized. And I don't actually know how much I made. I think it's like $400. Maybe. I don't even have the account set up to like get that money, but I think that's how much. I think every day it's like $8 or something, like $5 to $8. So the last Ask Me Anything I did was $12. I think it's how much it made, $12. If that. So I appreciate you guys for watching this. I can make $12. I can get myself some lunch. Generally, I mean, this might sound cocky or stupid, but an hour and a half, 2 hours of my time probably isn't worth $12 to me at this stage. But I just help a lot of people out in those 2 hours, and that is worth it to me. So I hope that answers your question. 444 mutation. As someone who grades a lot more cards than probably all of us, what do you think of the idea of PSA controls the pop report? Have you seen sufficient evidence in your grades to have an opinion on this? I personally grade maybe 30 cards a month, so I'm just a small ant. But even sometimes I get my cards back, and I think that's definitely not a grade X to anyone with eyeballs. That's a rough one. Maybe we'll do a video one day on like PSA conspiracy theories. No, I don't think PSA is controlling the pop report. They grade like 1 million cards a month. And if they did control the pop report, I don't think anyone cards, even in Pokemon, would even be noticed. Maybe very, very few really high-end ones, but I still don't think they care at the end of the day. I think there is probably evidence you'll see that grading was, I wouldn't say it's like harsher now, because it's definitely not harsher now, because, you know, you like you said, you still get cards that's definitely not X grade. And I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe you mean you get 10s that shouldn't be 10s, or maybe you get 9s that should be 10s. But I don't think it's harsher to grade with PSA now. But I just think back in the day, between like 2015 to like 2020, obviously I only started really grading like 2017, but it was probably more lenient, if that makes sense. So a few more things, a little bit of edgeware here and there. They've always said on their website a PSA 10 can have a few flaws. It's not absolutely perfect. It's just a gem version of a mint card. But obviously, I think you could get it with a few flaws back in the day. Whereas now, those things probably wouldn't be as overlooked. I don't think it's harsher, because I think what they do now is if you get a gem mint, it's usually a gem mint card, probably 90% of the time. And when they're not, they're usually just either they would be a 9 otherwise. So yeah, I don't think any PSA conspiracy theories really hold up. And if there were conspiracy theories, it would have to do with like the $100,000 sports cards, and not just like, because there is hundreds and thousands of sports cards that are above 10K, 20K, 30K. There's really not that many Pokemon cards that go that close. I think they would definitely pay more attention to that side. And there's a whole bunch of other conspiracy theories that are just, I don't know. Some people say, like, if you put a bad card in front of a good card, they'll see how bad condition the first card is and how good the second card is. I mean, they're grading thousands of cards every day, and that grader probably went through a whole submission before they even touched your cards. Sorry. And I don't think it's, yeah. I just submit the cards. I try to do like 100 at a time. I think there is a time where you can send 100 cards, and maybe you get 50% 10s, and you send the same 100 cards and you'll get like 40%, and then the same 100 cards you get 60%. Yes, that variance sucks, but also the human. So the variance has to be there. If it wasn't there, I'd actually be more worried, because it's like there is like a set standard, but that hasn't really been upheld over 25 billion years, however long they've been open for. It's hard. We'll never know at the end of the day. The conspiracy theories are conspiracies because there's money involved. Usually people are upset about their grades. They didn't get higher because they want more money. Generally, that's what happens at any time when money is involved with anything. People get upset and they just cry wolf. But yeah, I mean, I just try to limit my submissions to like 50 to 100 cards. Okay, we're back. Okay, that really sucked. Pretty much my phone died, and that is probably really bad. I've recorded like 4 hours of videos today, so I did not realize the battery was going low, and that is my fault. So I'm pretty sure I was finishing up on the question about the PSA pop report and peer pop control and everything, and I hope you got a good answer from that. If you don't think that answer was suffice, just let me know, because I talked for an extra like 15 minutes answering other questions, and the phone died and everything went away. So, moving on. Just Jack 21. Do you have an end goal in mind for your collection? Nah, not really. I'm always enjoying to buying, selling, and collecting new things. I think there's a lot of value in things that aren't expensive, to be honest. So, like plushies and like posters and collectible display things, and even now I'm trying to get to the point where I can like buy art from the Pokemon artists of like their own original drawings. And so stuff like that is what I'm getting into. Is I've kind of collected finished my TCG collecting goals. There's only 1 or 2 more trophy cards I really want to buy. I have like 27 trophy cards. I don't think 28 or 29 or 30 doesn't really complete much more for me, and getting more duplicates of the same ones I already have doesn't do much. And I've already put like $500,000 into that stuff, and it's a lot of fucking money. And I just, even saying it, I just feel, I get this plush, right? And I've looked at this plush every single day for like months. And some cards, they're like in a bank vault somewhere, and I don't even think about them. So I'm trying to get more stuff that I'm actually going to be looking at and using and enjoying day to day, rather than, collecting expensive cards. Is this video rolling? I hope it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. That sucked. I already answered all these questions, but now I can just answer them again easily. Studio Tech asks, did you ever grade with Beckett for cards that may have a chance at a black label? Hello, Studio Tech. BGS. No, I don't go with BGS. I don't really like BGS as a company. I don't really like black labels. I understand why people like them. I understand why people buy them. But personally, to me, I would always rather have like 4 or 5 PSA 10s instead of one black label. But at the same time, people can do whatever they want. It's their own money. I don't really like the idea of using, because you're grading with BGS, and first you're grading to get a black label, so you're just like taking a risk, and then you're taking another risk hoping someone would buy it for even more than the PSA 10 version. And there's like multiple layers of just like extra risk and like more kind of just luck involved. I like to do the things that's like path to the least resistance, I guess, and just get the PSA 10. A lot easier. I won't have to deal with getting like pristine 10 BGS, BGS 9.5, BGS 9s on the same cards. Even if you get a black label every once in a while, it'll probably average out to being even less if you just graded with PSA and sold them. But you can get lucky sometimes. You get a black label, someone's going to buy it for $10,000 of some card that's like 1,000 PSA 10. I mean, great for you as a seller, as a buyer, as someone who I just feel bad if I took money from someone selling such an overinflated black label. But, sometimes I sell PSA 10s for $300 more than they cost me. And, it's kind of hypocritical at the same time. But I don't like BGS as a company. I think they haven't really improved much since like 2018. They don't really deserve my money as a customer themselves. So I'd rather just give it to the companies that have improved. And not financial advice, curious about what sort of expenses you learned you could claim as an eBay seller, reseller / shop. Purchase of collections, do they count? Purchase of sealed product, do they count? Thanks again for the videos. And again, not a very good person to ask. Just ask your accountant. It's different for everyone in the whole world. Usually when you buy a collection, you buy some sealed product, it's not really an expense, because let's say you have $5,000 and in your business you spend $5,000 on product. You don't have $0 anymore. You actually have $5,000 just in product. And then when you sell the product, you pay the profit on like what you paid for the item and what you sold it for. It's not really like, it's hard. It's not a pure expense. You just like, if you spent that $5,000, you don't just get to write $5,000 off. At least for me, I don't just get to write $5,000 off because I bought items to sell. But maybe it's different for everyone. Maybe you can just lie or just say something completely different. But you are literally just moving the money into a product, and you like, yeah. I'm not the best person to ask, because what I do is completely different to what everyone else does. Because I have a company, I have a business tax accountant, I have a bookkeeper. I actually do things quite proper, and maybe it costs me a little bit more, but I don't really care. At the end of the day, I feel safe. Everything gets done above board. Expenses you can claim, obviously the normal. This whiteboard's an expense because it's used for the YouTube channel. These boxes, these shelves, those shelves, bubble wrap, packing, printers, my computer. I'm taking a trip to Japan. It's a business trip, so that's going to be an expense as well. I'm going there to purchase things. These little things here and there you can write off, but yeah, purchasing collections, I don't really know. You have to ask what goes on in your country, what's best. Fat Gus. Hello, Fat Gus. What is your cheapest card I can buy from you? Well, I don't. Just go on my website and just go lowest, but you don't have to buy a card off me just because I make the videos. If you want to buy something off me that you like, feel free to do that, but don't have to just buy a card off me. It's perfectly fine. Cat Films. Do you buy single purchases or bulk when buying cards like the Magikarp, which are cheap but you're buying tons of? I don't really know what that means, to be honest. You might have to break that down for me and explain a little bit better. I think you mean do I usually buy one card, or do I buy a lot of the one card? With the Magikarp, I just bought a lot of singles at the same time. No one really gives me like a bulk purchase discount. Or maybe, do you buy cards in single purchases? Like, you mean I just buy one of? I mean, I might buy one of a certain card if I see it. if I know that it's good and I know that I can, like, obviously sell it for more, or it's at a discount, I can keep it for my collection and I got a good price. It's a if you're just asking me whether I buy one card or I buy multiples of the same cards, I mean, if you just watch the mail days, I kind of show everything off I buy, so I might answer your question a little bit better. Darren M, what is your worst scam story and how did you bounce back mentally from it? And what's your daily interaction with house bugs and giant Aussie spiders? Haha. Spiders are no joke, man. Don't mess around with spiders. That shit's scary. I hate spiders. I remember one time, a few years ago, I was going to sleep. I walked into my bedroom, pitch black. It was like 2 a.m. It was actually pitch black because the house is very dark. It's got bushes all around it. So no moonlight, no nothing. And I see on the wall something like this, like my hand sized. And I could see that figure was on the wall, even in the pitch black. And when you see that, it's happened like 4 or 5 times in my life. You're just like, fuck me. That is... Turn on the light, and there's a huntsman, no shit, bigger than my hand, just on the wall. Obviously, it's got fucking legs, and he was just huge. And you just close the bedroom door, and you just sleep on the couch. There's really just like nothing you can do at that point. Sometimes I've trapped them in plastic containers and put them outside, and sometimes I've been unsuccessful and I've like killed them. But you shouldn't really kill the wildlife because they do actually help a lot in like eliminating things from outside and like pests that get into your house. Huntsmen are really good with that. But overall, the spiders are fucking scary, man. Honestly, so they run so fast as well. They're just like oh my god, huntsmen are so fast. They're disgusting. Anyway, what's my worst scam story? I don't have that many, luckily. I think I'm pretty diligent in what I've bought over time. I've definitely bought things like on eBay. I think I remember like in 2017 or 18, I bought like 200 EX cards and it was like $400. And every single one of them was completely damaged. And the seller sent it in an envelope. Like a paper white envelope, just 200 EX cards. And that was probably, they were already damaged, but they got even more damaged by no packing. And I tried to get a refund, and he just like was so adamant. And I sent the cards back to him, and then he told eBay that I scammed him. I guess that's a scam. And other than that, I don't really know. This has been my biggest, worst scam story. I don't really. It's been a while. I'm pretty diligent. I mean, I've probably been scammed, and I just haven't noticed a lot of the time. Maybe I bought a card, and they just sent me a different one in the photos. Sometimes I buy too much. Maybe that might happen. But overall, it's been pretty good. I've been pretty lucky. I think I did once buy a $3,000 card and it was fake. I guess that helps. They had real photos and they sent me a fake card. So that was an extra Battle Day Lily promo. It was roughly around $8,000 at the time. 8 to 9,000. And I saw one. It was like a little bit played and it had some dents on it. And I was 3,000. I was like, I'm happy to buy a played copy. I'll put it in my binder. But they used a real photo and they sent me a fake card. And that is what it is. Got my money back though, so not the end of the world. But that sucked. Because now that card's like $50,000 and I won't ever buy it. Breaking Silver. Hey Steve, think you'll ever grade with CGC again? I have some Weiss I want to grade for my personal collection. Not sure if I should go PSA or CGC. I can show you. My Weiss cards are just here. So, let me see if this shows up on the camera. Here's the difference between the two. I think CGC is great. I think the cases are great. The company is awesome, to be honest. I think the company is one of the better ones I've worked with in trading cards. It's just, when it comes to grading, I don't like the multiple grades towards the end. It was just like, I'd send, 10 modern cards in or whatever, and I would get like 2 10s, 3 9.5s, 3 9s, 1 8.5, and 1 8, because they'd just be varied. And then I'd have to make like 6 listings of the same card, and you just send the cards to PSA and you just get 6 or 10 PSA 10s. You might make more with the perfects. It's the same argument with BGS with the whole grading thing, but towards the end, I just didn't really like it. It wasn't like, I'm not saying the grading's wrong or the grading's strict. It's just that, they try a lot harder with the grading. And this is going to sound bad, but PSA obviously they're much worse at grading, I guess, or their scale is much more lenient to TGCs. So I just wanted to use PSA more in the end, and obviously it's like more liquidity and more people want it and stuff like that. PSA for me is a lot better, especially with the stuff that I grade. Most people who have Japanese cards already have PSA ones in their collection, and trying to sell CGC into like the PSA market isn't always the best idea. In saying that, I have used CGC a lot. They're a great company. Maybe one day I will use them again. With you're saying with the Weiss cards, I think it's completely fine. My Weiss purchase has been pretty successful. I think I ended up spending, I think I spent 24,000 and I've sold around 12,000 in graded Weiss. And I spent like, I want to say 2,000 in grading fees. A lot of my Weiss cards I don't sell very fast because they have them priced rather high, because SPs and SSPs are quite hard to get in like mint condition, especially some old ones that I have. So I'm not willing to let them go because I could just dump them and get all my costs back. But it was a fun experiment. Weiss overall doesn't have as much liquidity as Pokemon does, and I don't enjoy it as much as Pokemon. And Pokemon is so big that I'm just spending so much time on it every day. I can't dedicate it to Weiss. But to answer your question, I would say just use PSA. If there's ever a chance you're going to sell the Weiss cards, and sell one for maybe one you're going to buy and like move your collection into another item. But overall, just choose whichever one you like. I think the CGC cases look beautiful. PSA cases don't look that bad with Weiss. The PSA labels are kind of lame with how shitty they are, but other than that, it's not a big deal. Your average player, if you were to open a physical storefront, what would be the thing that separates you from the competition? Well, I'll just answer, I could never ever open a physical storefront. I know multiple game stores and they're all basically, they're not struggling, but like the lifestyle of opening a game store absolutely sucks. And if I had to be at a physical location the whole time, it would take away all the fun from buying and selling, from home, and like working from home and all these other benefits that come from it. But what would be the thing that separates you from the competition? Man, I wouldn't even know, to be honest. I've never even thought about it. It would probably be, man, it's crazy. I would like to say more range, but you just lose so much time dealing with all like the bullshit and having to be there and serve customers and deal with employees and deal with everything. And yeah, I mean, there's really very little that sets most game stores apart from each other. You have to put a lot of time and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in. And most game stores are very, very good. And like they host player nights and they have games and competitions and everything, and they do awesome. I just don't have a need to do stuff like that. And I'm not even at the position in life to open a game store. I don't have enough money for that. So, but yeah, there would really be nothing that separates my game store, and Steve's game store would probably go out of business. Henry Stump, hopefully not too touchy, but can you name 3 cards that you regret selling the most? Oh, let's see. I had a Wonder Platinum earlier in the year, last year. It's probably the rarest card I've owned. I sold that for 65,000. I accepted the fact that I'll never own that card again, but it was nice having it for the time being that I did. But in selling that, I got to buy like my Snap Coughing, and I got to buy like another trophy for myself. So that felt like a good trade because the Coughing is awesome. Apart from that, selling some cards, I mean, there's not really, because anytime I sell anything for my collection, it's always to buy something else for my collection. So I can't really say I regret selling something because I wouldn't have the future things. But I've sold a lot of things over the years that I really didn't have to. I sold like my Mario Pikachu sets like 6 months ago. I had 2 sets. I just sold both of them because I didn't really like Mario Pikachus that much. I think they're great. I think whatever. I knew they were going to go up in price over and over because, they're just amazing. But I just used that to buy something else. I don't even know what I bought, but I think I bought some more full art trainers for my collection. And I was just like, well, these Marios are so expensive. I wanted to like load up on a whole bunch of full art trainers, and both of it worked out. There's no right or wrong, but yeah, there's not really anything I regret selling because it was all used to buy something else. Definitely things I sold that I shouldn't have sold and I should have just waited, but I don't really have any regrets because I'm doing okay. Heng Shah asks, do you ever buy graded cards that you think are underpriced and hold for a time and relist later? Yeah, all the time. Lots of people, they list their cards either a little bit too low, they don't know the market price, or I don't think that market price is very accurate. I think I can see trends of the card moving up and being harder to find, and then the eBay market doesn't really pick up those kind of trends super fast. The other day I bought Mew Gold Star and then I sold that for a little bit more. So it's yeah, I do that all the time. I think that's perfectly fine. I think some people are scared to buy graded cards because they want to be the one that grades the cards and makes the money. They don't want to give someone else money for grading the cards because they think graded cards is like a Ponzi or something, and that's whatever. But I always buy graded cards. I think it's awesome. And what goes into your decision of cheap modern cards to buy and hold for now with the intention of grading, selling them years in the future? Well, this question is just something that you probably shouldn't do, but most of the time when I'm grading the modern cards, I'm just aiming to break even and then just make an interaction with the customer. That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm at the point where I just want interactions more than profit because I already made a decent amount of profit, I felt like, especially in the past few years. So, we'd use, for example, like V-Star Universe Charizards and Radiant Charizard. I have those up for sale and I'm making very little on them. Like Scarlet Violet Promo Pikachu. It's like $10 to $15 per card. And it's not really like that much money, and it's a lot of time and effort and grading fees and everything to put that together. I can definitely make more just finding other things that I know that are good. But the modern cards, it's definitely never a good idea to like buy them when they first come out and hold them. You could probably just buy them 1 year afterwards and they would usually just be the same price. It is changing a bit recently because everything's so nuts with modern cards, but I think it's always just better just to buy cards that are older if you want to hold onto them, I guess. It's like a crystal ball question, I guess. I can't really answer that too much, but let's just say most modern cards I buy when they first come out and I don't grade them, I lose money on. If not all modern cards. Until like 4 years go by and I still have them. But I haven't really done that with that many cards yet because I haven't been doing it that seriously for that long. So I can't even say that works. Matt West, when you're grading your personal collection, not items you're selling, what factors influence which grading company you choose? Well, Wes, usually, or Mr. Matt West, I don't actually grade my personal collection. I have graded cards in my personal collection that I graded with the intention to sell, but then I got them and I was like, man, they're way too cool. I'm not going to sell those. But I don't really grade my own personal cards because it kind of is just like a waste of money. And a lot of the cards I tend to buy for my collection aren't really cards that you can throw in bulk and you can just grade them easily. It's more of like the PSA is going to charge me like $1,000, $2,000 at a time. I don't really care about their opinion on the condition of some of my rare cards. It's just not relevant. So I would say in general, don't grade your personal collection and save the funds and buy more cards. Because having more cards in plastic cases doesn't really seem a better option to me rather than just having more cards in general. In saying that, if you're someone who likes to do, maybe like me, I do like to sell out of my collection every once in a while to buy some more stuff for my collection, and having the cards ready, graded to go, and you know how much they're worth, you don't have to wait to grade them, is a really good option. But if you have something you just never want to sell, I want to keep forever, I know it's this, I know it's great, just put it in your binder, just be happy with it, don't grade it. 10x Cracked Gamer, how do you manage to handle all your sales when you have multiple at once? I don't really know what that means. You mean like how do I manage multiple sales? And then like shipping them? I mean, it's just shipping an item is just one thing at a time. I mean, you can't ship 2 items at once, so you just get the item, pack it, put the label on it. To the next, I posted a video. It probably shows you how I do it. 50 minutes of me packing 50 orders. That's just it. It's just one at a time. You get used to it. No one throws you in the deep end. You don't get 50 sales at a time. You start with 1, and then you have 2 in one day, and then you have 3, and then you have 4. So, you just got to be dialed in. You got to be locked in. No distractions. Don't put stuff on the TV. Don't call someone on the phone. Just get your orders up, print your labels, or write your labels on, and take them to the post office. Do that in time. It's yours. You can concentrate and not make any mistakes. XURGG. I don't know how to say this. Is it just like Zorg? Like, is that a Zorg? Can you change the name to a normal one? No, I'm kidding. Do you use Google Sheets like TCG Collector to track inventory of graded and ungraded cards? I'm starting to see how this can get out of hand quickly. I don't use anything like that to track them. It's really bad, I understand. I generally think most of that stuff is a time waste to a certain extent. My inventory is tracked by my website and my backend, so that's perfectly fine. My stuff that's not listed, I don't really track it that well. I don't generally keep that much stuff unlisted. And I have all my 2 grade stuff sorted in boxes, and I know by like my mind like where it is and how it is. But I do get it. It does get out of hand. And if you don't process stuff fast and you don't know where everything, especially if you're working full time and only doing this every once in a while, it can get very confusing. So maybe use more labeling systems visually rather than spending time putting it in Google Sheets. Because I have like, even on my boxes, normal type, fire type, and then in my backstock, I have normal type, backstock, fire type, and in my like This box is unlabeled, but I would usually put on the front here. I haven't checked these yet, but when I pre-check the cards, I know they're going to be good for grading. I write what's kind of in there, like black and white non-holos, or black and white holos, or modern V-Star universe, or something like that. Something. And then I write PSA ready on the bottom of them. So I use visual cues rather than like wasting time putting them in spreadsheets. But not saying spreadsheets are bad. I just don't really like them. I don't like to use them. Chemo, do you ever buy from zero feedback sellers from Yahoo, Japan, and Mercari? If so, what situations make you willing to take the risk? Hello, Chemo, how are you going? First time I've seen your name. Yeah, all the time. Zero feedback sellers, generally the ones that sell the rarest items in Japan. So it's really high risk, really low reward, because you could get scammed, or it could be high reward because you get a rare item. In saying that, I have a private middleman. I pay a 10% fee. It's quite high. He keeps me updated for what stuff he gets and if it's real and if he gets it. So I have a little bit of buyer protection that way. From when I buy from zero feedback sellers, I think usually the middleman websites don't really tend to like you using zero feedback sellers because it usually is a waste of time. Most people in this world aren't out to get you, but unfortunately a lot of people who do just make new accounts, they put popular cards up, Mario Pikachu, Scream Mimikyu, Shining Charizard, stuff like that, just to try and scam Westerners, and they send them a damaged copy and there's nothing you can do. So you really got to be, it's really like if an item that I haven't seen photos of before pops up, like a rare trophy card or something like that from a zero feedback seller, and the story that they're posting is kind of believable, I think, I generally just go for it. But yeah, it's hard. Zero feedback sellers on eBay, definitely just buy from them. But from the Japanese website, you really have to be careful. And what I'm saying is, like, it's generally the people that have like really rare stuff that isn't like is new photos and not just like rehashed photos, because I've seen most of the photos of rare stuff posted over the years. Matt West, you mentioned you had an oddish collector and someone who enjoyed collecting fish-related Pokemon. It's not really a question, but I would love to hear more about some of the niche collectors you've sold to. Oh, you want to hear? I mean, there's everyone. You would be so amazed. I mean, the other day I had someone buy like 5 Ursaring PSA 10s. I've had a guy buy like 10 oddish PSA 10s. I got a guy that buys every Psyduck I post PSA 10. Doesn't matter what price I put it at. Doesn't matter what like thing. And usually these people that buy these certain Pokemon, I don't take advantage of them. I don't just like jack the prices up super high because I know that they want them, because that's kind of like scummy. So I still keep them around the same price as everything else. I had a person that buy Whoopers off me recently, and she was great to deal with. I mean, there's so many. Some people just buy Fire-type Pokemon. Some people just want a certain line. There is a guy that only buys fish Pokemon. Goldeen, Seaking, Lumineon, Milotic, Melodic, or however everyone want to say it. It's, there's people that collect everything. It's Pokemon, man. It's huge. There's something for everyone. It's really, I've put a lot of time, money, and effort into grading a lot of like niche things. And a lot of them have come to me and they're like, hey, really thank you for grading this, because it's quite hard to find in gem and condition, and you just like you did it all. And I noticed that you opened the box and you got this card out and you graded it. And I sold to an Abra collector, a few Steelix collectors. There's something. I think most collectors, they start off with like the lowest rarity of stuff. So they'll buy like a light played copy of a card they like, and they'll start getting lots of like raw copies of like all the cards they like, and then they want to get like a PSA 9 or PSA 10 of something they really like, and then they want to get everything they have in PSA 10. It's just kind of like a natural progression. And then eventually they realize, okay, I don't want to buy PSA 10s of all those cards anymore. I have them. I don't want to space that out. And they start a new goal, and they start a new collecting goal sort of thing. So it is impressive how many people are collecting. To me, I'm just going to keep checking if this phone's on, because I lost like so much film before. But it is impressive to know the niche collectors and how far and how serious they go into it. And it just like blows my mind, because I am like a Pikachu collector, but it's not very special to be a Pikachu collector these days. But I have a lot of Pikachu cards I've spent a shitload of money on that like are very rare, and there's so many of them that I'll never get, like Illustrator and all the old back trophy ones, and that's perfectly fine. But it's cool to see everyone and what they collect. Keandre Simmons, what would you do when buying a collection lot that does not pan out or might take longer to sell? Any examples from the past? Great question. Now, I posted 2 videos recently. I think you asked this question before I posted this video. So watch the old back video. I go into like breaking down a collection like that. I just recorded one today of a binder collection that I purchased and how I average it out and how I kind of justify buying something like that. But in general, red flags to avoid when buying a collection, it's you really want, if you're buying an actual collection from someone, I always like to think I don't want to buy cards that people don't want anymore. A lot of people are like, hey, Steve, I got these cards I don't want anymore. You want to buy them for me? I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to buy cards people actually want, but they're just like selling. Like they wanted those cards and they collected them and they're selling. I don't try to buy like unwanted collections because usually ones just filled with a bunch of junk and those people didn't care too much. I like to buy wanted collections for like a good market price because they have good cards in good condition and stuff like that. It's not like a red flags. If you buy a collection, you notice they have like no expensive cards in there, but they've collected a lot and they spent a lot of money, obviously. But they don't have like, what's the example I can use? Like, let's say back when Evolutions was out, people would sell their Evolutions bulk, and they would post like all their bulk holos. And this was back when maybe Charizard was like $20. It's this guy opens like 3 Evolution booster box, and he has no Charizard holos in the bulk, or like selling my Evolutions collection. You know what I mean? He's not including any good Charizards, or maybe he sells like the full arts that are bad. He puts in there. He doesn't put the Mega Charizard and the Mega Blastoise, which is completely fine to do as a person that's collecting and selling. But you would notice like, hey, this guy's not really putting all the good stuff in. I don't really want to buy, because that's the stuff that juices up a collection. If you're buying something as a whole, even at a discount, you have to put the work into selling them as raw and single copies, and a lot of the eBay listings, a lot of time that goes into it. So you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth, because there's always something else to buy. There's always something else to buy. You don't have to buy. The collection pops up, you're like, oh my god, I missed it. I'll never get something as good as that again. You just refresh. One day goes by, something else will come up. Or maybe you buy a few single cards instead. And that's why I tend to buy single cards myself rather than buying big collections, just so I can know what I'm getting and I can be happy with what I'm getting. And thank you for the question. Cubs1023. What the fuck? If you were yogurt, would you be fruit at the bottom or stirred? That caught me off guard, bro. Are you good? I don't really know, to be honest. Probably fruit at the bottom. What are you doing, man? You good? Oh, I gotta collect myself. Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't ask such a silly question. Oh, Pokey Explorer. Have you ever had any cards damaged or lost by PSA? What happened if you did? When you're getting your cards back, how savage are the import fees? Have you found you get less higher grades now? PSA are using AI to grade a lot of the cards. 3 questions. All right, first one. Any cards damaged or lost by PSA? Never a card lost. They've damaged 3 cards out of like 20,000. And what happened? They just emailed me and they said, these are the ones that they told me about. Maybe they damaged other ones that I don't know of. They probably have, most likely. I mean, human error, shit happens. I don't really notice it. I just accept the grades as they are. But they've damaged like 3 cards. They emailed me saying, hey, we damaged this card. You want it sent back in the new grade and a refund? Or we'll just keep the card and we'll give you a bigger refund. Or something like that. And they just refunded me a certain amount. It was usually fair every time. Not that bad. It sucks, but it is what it is. As long as you send the cards in the right tier, you won't ever get burnt by that. Luckily, I didn't have any expensive cards get damaged in bulk so far. When you're getting cards back, how savage are the import fees? It's 10% plus $88. Sometimes they throw an extra 5% on just for fun. But it's completely fine because I'm a business and it's a total write-off because it's a tax, and it's completely fine for me. I don't mind paying it because it's basically like me paying zero at the end of the day. So I don't actually care about import fees. Have you found you get less high grades now? No. That probably goes into more of the PSA question earlier with the what is it? My brain's lapsing. Are you just watching my brain tick right now? The hypothetical PSA situations, what's wrong with me? Why can't I answer this question? This is embarrassing. Oh, yeah, like the pop control, stuff like that. I don't really know, man. I've graded a lot of cards over the years. It feels like inconsistently consistent all the time. I had a friend get a submission back recently, and it wasn't even like, I think he only had 100 like 2022 cards in there. Everything was before 22. He had like 470 out of 500 PSA 10s, and most of it was mixed English, Japanese. Sometimes you get, if your cards are good condition, you're going to get higher grades on average. If your cards are in worse condition, you'll get lower grades on average. That's probably the best. Using AI to grade a lot of the cards, I don't really know what you mean by that. I think they have machines that have had them for about like 6 or 7 years now. You can put the card in the machine, it'll scan it, and it'll like give like a heat map to some sort of like where it is on the card. If it's like they can't see it, just so they can get a double check. I think they have a machine like that, and they have a few other things like centering tools and whatever. But for the bulk Pokemon cards, I don't think they even bother sending most of that stuff to like, because that's just such a waste of time. But I know they take pictures of every card raw now, so maybe they do some centering measuring or something before the grader gets it. They just get like a thing report. That might make sense, where a lot of my off-center cards get more 9s than they used to, but is it worse if the grading is more fair because they're using correct methods? Who knows? SDC asks, how do you balance your time, work, and play? I don't, man. I just do like 10 to 16 hours a day every day. This is work and play. Like, making this video is kind of play for me. It might seem like work, maybe from the other side, but I don't mind doing this, and it's quite fun. I'm not thinking about like, making money, gaining value, trying to get a good deal, buying things for my collection. I'm just completely zoned out, answering some fun questions that people have asked me. It's not the end of the world. So this is kind of like my playtime, but yeah, if you want a result that's like different than the norm, if you want a life that's like different than like a normal person's life, you're gonna have to put more time in. That's kind of what's been like built into my brain. And I'm not saying if you put a normal amount of time, you don't deserve a great life, but I've put in a lot of hours, more than most people, in what I do, and I've seen a different result than what most people get out of what I do. So I feel like, the effort that I put in has been rewarded. It's not always like that, but there is no time for play, basically. Like I said earlier, I'm going on my first holiday in 7 years of buying and selling. My store's on time away. It's a surreal feeling. I shipped 165 packages today because I had a public holiday yesterday, and I had some auctions ending, and I sold like 60 buy it nows, and they'll be the last packages that I ship until the 15th or something, and that's quite crazy for me, to be honest, because I've never taken a break. So we'll see. When we get back, I'll tell you the difference between how I feel of having a little bit of time off. All right, Mikumuta asks, looks like you purchased a large collection of Japanese oldbacks. Do you think there are good deals to be had in the bulk/collection section of Yahoo Japan, or aspiring resellers stick to buying singles? Stick to buying singles, and Yahoo Japan is not the only place to buy from. I think so many people like, I have to buy Japanese cards from Japan. No, you don't have to buy Japanese cards. There is better deals not in Japan, 99% of the time. Like I don't even buy all my cards from Japan. I'm getting to the point where like I'm never gonna make a video on like where I buy my cards from, because it's not beneficial to anyone. Because also spend like $100,000 a month, but buying singles is always better than buying a collection, because you're just flat gambling when you're buying a collection. You don't really know the condition of everything. Singles over any collection. Collections are a very small part about what I buy. I just buy singles that I know are good. I grade them. I buy singles that I know. Like, the collections that I buy is mainly for selling raw cards and just recycling a bit of money and making like 10 to 20%. It's not really the game plan for me. And it shouldn't really be for most people, because you will just get burnt 99% of the time, and you don't have enough money to keep up with getting burnt like that. Brody plays. Name 3 to 5 people that have the most influence on you since you started your reseller journey now. Well, first person, Charlie Herlocker. He goes under Cherlocker, one of my best friends. Great guy. He's helped out hundreds and thousands of people with everything. Some people, they like to say random stuff about him that's completely just untrue. I don't really know. Some people don't like him, maybe because he has money. Don't really know. He's one of the nicest guy, best guy I've ever met. I would be not Pokemon Steve without him. And there's definitely a few other people in there. I have lots of friends I talk to every day, but he's number one. He takes number one spot. Number 2 would probably be my partner currently. She's probably pushed me more than anyone to like get my shit together. Stop acting like a buffoon all the time, and take shit seriously and take my job seriously. And now this is my job, take this seriously. And now she's teaching me how to enjoy life and not worry too much about like the job side of things. So it's probably those 2. Where do you see your personal collection in 5 years? No idea, man. 5 years is an extremely long time in collecting, especially this day and age with how fast it is and social media and everything's so crazy. I think 5 years is 2 years. I mean, even in one, if I go back to a collection picture from 1 year ago, it's completely different. Go back another year, it's changed, man. I wouldn't even know. Hopefully in 5 years, I have at least one old back trophy card. Maybe that'll be good, but you know, they're like $100,000. So maybe if the YouTube blows up and they give me more than $10 ad revenue per day, I might be able to buy one. Well, $10 would actually be quite a lot. I would like $10 a day. That'd be pretty nice. We're not at $10 yet, but we might be at $10 soon. How do you manage to get so many 10s on modern cards? I think your name is Guanexated. Is that it? Yuanexated? I don't know how to. I'm really sorry. Guanexated. Guanzina Ted. Is that it? How do you manage to get so many 10s on modern cards? I've been buying some SRs and other cards, and they come damaged over 50% of the time. The other day at Card Rush in Akibara, I must have gone through a dozen cards before finding one that I believe could potentially go to PSA 10. And that's with me having actually been able to inspect the cards in person. How do you do it, given you're essentially buying all the way from Australia and given the Pokemon TCG's terrible print quality? That's a really good question. That's why I tell people, it's not easy. Be careful. Don't buy lots. Don't buy lots of one things. Make sure you buy from pictures you can see. How do I get so many? I mean, you don't know how many cards that I buy to be able to get the amount of 10s that I get. You only see the 10 part because I haven't made videos in the past. Sometimes, you know, Radiant Charizards, I have, you know, for 40, 50 10s on my shelf, and I bought hundreds, if not thousands, of that card. I'm very picky with what I send. With the modern cards, I go over them just as much. Like you said, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12 cards, you think it's, yeah, they are pretty bad. And then I just try to recycle through those raw ones that I bought that aren't PSA 10 worthy. I sell them just so I can buy more copies as fast as I can. Blue Green. What is your average profit margin after fees and shipping? Is it like 30% like a wine store? I didn't know wine stores 30% profit margin. Yeah, I mean, I'd say like 15 to 20% overall in the year. Some items, obviously, they're like 500%, 1000%. Some items I break even on, kind of averages out. I think I'm aiming for 20% on the store. Really high volume. That would be really good to get 20% on the amount of volume that I push. I think it's most likely a lot less, but in my mind, I just hope it's more. Because if it's not more, I'm doing a lot of work to break even. But that's fine. Shit happens. I hope that didn't sound bad with the way I said that. I already answered that question. So, oh, is that it? That's it? Damn. Let me just double check that's it. I hope I got everyone's questions, by the way. You know, I go through the YouTube comments and I got 6 pages here and I trim them down a little bit to make sure I can get them. I really hope I get all of them. I think there was around 45 or something this time. So how long did we go for? The other video was like 48 minutes. This one's 40 minutes. Wow. So hope you like this kind of stuff. I mean, that's pretty much the end of it. I'll combine these 2 videos, and I don't really need to say this because you don't even see the combining, but I'll combine them and I'll post the video. I hope you enjoy it. Oh, put your questions in the comments. Don't really mind, whatever you ask. Hope you don't find that the fact that I'm too rude, but I'm really just trying to be blunt. You know, I'm not trying to give people answers. I'm trying to teach them. So, unfortunately, I have to be the bad guy sometimes, and teaching you is a bit rough. It's tough love, but we'll stick together and we'll be able to make it eventually. So, I hope you enjoy these videos. I hope I didn't look too weird, like always fidgeting and scratching myself and stretching. And I should sit down for the next one. My back's hurting. Oh, getting old, fellas. Almost 30. Getting bloody old, mate. Oh, all right. We'll stop messing around. Thanks for watching and have a great day.